morning, Teller County, and thank you again for joining us. And I want to talk about a bill that I helped author for the Colorado Senate, and this is SCR 25-001. This is a tax exemption bill, and there's been a little bit of discussion about this, and I kind of want to clear the air as to what it really is and what it does and why we're doing it. So here's what this bill does. This bill will give a tax exemption, not an increase, and no one's asking for any taxes, but we're asking for an exemption, and it will go to the vote of the people. I believe that all bills, if it's going to have any bearing on taxes or anything else, should go to the vote of the people. So one thing we've requested is that the Senate and House both vote to approve moving forward with this bill, and then this bill would actually go to the voters of the state of Colorado for review and actually to see if they want to do this for first responders. One of the issues I've seen throughout my 30-year career in public service is that the first responder community, paramedics, EMTs, fire organizations, mostly volunteers and primary fire departments in your area, and law enforcement have had an issue when retirements were so low in the state of Colorado and the property taxes have raised so much. It's hard for a lot of first responders that have retired and or are working through their career to be able to make ends meet now as it is. And I know we all think that we should raise what these people get paid, but in rural communities, it's really hard throughout Colorado for different counties to be able to fund these people at what they should be making. And the volunteers do it for free, so they leave all kinds of different types of jobs to be able to do this. And here's one of the bigger issues in Colorado that we've been facing in volunteerism. We've seen a steep decline in volunteers for fire departments and ambulance services throughout the state of Colorado. The issue for law enforcement is for volunteering, you have to go through a full post-certification, and it's really created a legislation nightmare for Colorado law enforcement to be able to have and use volunteers, and it seems to be getting worse. So one of the issues that we ran into is how do we recruit and retain volunteers across all these different services? So here was one of the bills that I pushed forward to attempt to do so. What we're seeing across the board is a huge reduction in people wanting to volunteer for these types of organizations. At a time and place in Colorado's history where we're having a lot more fires than we've ever had, and we need more fire agencies, and we need more firemen to fight these fires. Approximately 64% of the United States uses volunteer firefighters throughout their daily course of business. There's a lot of rural agencies that come and assist us in all the metro areas also for major fires, especially when it deals with wildland interface areas. So how do we keep and retain good firefighters that are volunteering, and then ambulance crews? The average extent of an ambulance worker for either an EMT or a paramedic to want to continue in this job is only 5 years. After 5 years, a lot of them just can't do it anymore, dependent on the stress, the pay, all the issues that really come up because it's a full-time job. And a lot of first responder services are that same way. And we're seeing the same thing with recruitment for volunteer firefighters because there's so much extra time you have to do. The one thing I saw was that in Colorado, we utilize volunteer fire services across the board more and more every year. I've had multiple fires where I've had people that were evacuated from their areas that really, if it hadn't been for my volunteer fire agency supporting the federal fire teams and the state fire teams, we wouldn't have had a response, and we may not have been able to get in front of fires. I'm so very proud of my volunteer fire chiefs and all the fire departments that really work with the fire department, with the volunteers. You just can't ask for better people. Our ambulance crews throughout Colorado are dealing with the same issues though also. So one of the biggest issues in the ambulance world is that it's harder and harder to find really good staff and keep them employed in this service. And what's really happening is that those are the people that come to your house when there's a heart attack, there's a serious injury, there's a car accident, there's been a shooting. All of those needs throughout Colorado are being met by ambulance services, a lot of which are actually volunteers. And so really for those services to Colorado, this bill would then deliver a tax incentive for them to be a volunteer, or anyone to be a volunteer. And I think there has to be some type of a perk for those volunteer agencies to really get people to want to start doing these things. And it's something that Colorado can give back without having to pay for. A tax exemption, by cutting someone's taxes by 10%, isn't a lot, but it is something. And here's one of the big issues that I've seen. These people that are volunteering or giving a full time to public service throughout Colorado give a lot. It's for a lot less money than other people make. and for a lot of time away from family and homes to protect others' homes. And in the state of Colorado, there's not a lot of give back by the state of Colorado for these types of services that are really offsetting state budgets, local government budgets, and municipal budgets. And you can't thank these people enough. And my hope is through this bill, it will thank people. And I hope that it increases the volunteerism across the board. So that in a nutshell is what SCR 25-001 does. I'm proud to author it and sponsor it with the bill sponsors. But I will tell you, we have to do something to create more people that want to volunteer for the different organizations and to help the volunteer firefighters and firefighters in general, along with emergency medical services and along with law enforcement. You know, throughout my career, I've been a fire marshal, a sheriff, a police chief, and an environment in Colorado that really has made it hard for all those first responders to work. And here's what I mean by that. We've had several people that have retired in our local community that were firefighters from volunteer agencies that had done, jobs around the community, not for a lot of pay and not for a lot of thank yous for what they did. But I saw them on every single fire throughout Colorado that they've answered the call and needs. I've seen ambulance crew members that really have done tremendous work in saving lives throughout this community. And I've sat on scenes with multiple people that have saved lives or even lives that were lost while they were attempting to do their jobs. And there's not a thank you very often for what those people have done. And in law enforcement right now, under the assault that they received from the legislative body out of Denver, it is hard. And for those people, when they buy a house in our community, at which they can afford for the prices that really they're able to meet through a budget of not very much, my hope is that offset of what their property taxes have gone up to throughout this community means that they can keep some of their homes. I know a lot of these people struggle at the end of the year to make those tax deadlines because there's just not a lot of money for them to do so. And here's the thing about our volunteers throughout the state. I think people should realize a lot of these people work down here at your local 7-Elevens. They work on farms and ranching. They work in heavy equipment. They work in all different types of formats of works that comes from all walks of lives. And they do an amazing job for the state and for the people of our communities. And I think that they should be rewarded somehow by the state of Colorado. And by giving them a tax exemption, if this helps, I think that's a wonderful thing. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you soon.